Today I'm going to make a video that Curtis Judd just made, but probably a slightly worse version. Let's get undone.
Gerald Undone. He's crazy.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Gerald Undone, and I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. So first things first, I need to acknowledge that Curtis Judd literally just posted a video very similar to this idea. I was planning on doing this before CES, but he beat me to it, fair and square. But I'm going to make this video anyway because a lot of you have been asking for an update based on my series of microphone testing that I've been doing for the last few months, trying to find, I don't want to say the perfect microphone, but the best microphone for me for the money in the sub $500 category for recording interior dialogue like this and how it sounds on my voice. Very specific. So I'm going to share my experiences with you with the different mics that I've tested, and hopefully some part of that will be useful to you if you're shopping for a microphone as well. We're not going into the above $500 microphones because, again, I was trying to win in that sub $500 category, and some of these mics are different patterns and different purposes, but I was trying them all just to see, what might work best in here. Now, right now you're listening to the Oktava MK-012, which, spoiler alert, I think is my favorite of the lot. And I've only had it for a couple days, but I've really been enjoying it so far. And all the mics, we're going to go through and plug all the mics in as I go over this video, and I'll show you up top somewhere what mic we're listening to at the time. Normally I would have this just out of frame, but I kind of wanted to have it in the frame, both so I could remind myself what mic label to put up, and also so you can see a little bit of how it looks. Usually it'd be just maybe 2 inches higher than this though. This one is a hypercardioid capsule that I have on, but it has interchangeable capsules. It comes in this box here. I guess before I go further, I should tell you that for all of these, we're going to be running the same XLR cable into the Zoom F6 recorder. And I can tell you the gain settings if you want to know. We can talk about maybe how the sensitivity changes between them. But they're all going to be recorded exactly the same way. And then all I'm going to do to them is normalize them to the same level in post. No other processing, EQ, effects, anything like that. So you should get a pretty, adequate comparison anyway. Now, with the Oktava, this is a Russian-made microphone that I had to order. I ordered mine from a German website because it was sort of the best bang for buck after conversion, but expect to pay somewhere between $200 to $300 US, after customs and duties and stuff, depending on where you order it from. Now, this one comes in this nice little box. And inside, this is the film kit or the movie kit edition, which comes with the hypercardioid capsule as well as a little high pass filter option. There's other ones that come with different capsules, and you can spend a lot more money if you want to get like a dual kit with all the capsules. But I just got the one here. I also have a little foam muff for it, and the little microphone holder is the one that we're using right now. And the price wasn't too bad. It definitely performs, I would say, better than its price based on some of the other microphones here. Now, just to set the stage a little bit more, I'll tell you a little bit more about what I was looking for, I guess, like my wish list for a microphone in this sub $500 category. First off, I'm shooting interior. I have a room that's not ideal, although if you've watched my recent video, I treated it heavily, so it sounds a lot better in here than it did before. It actually sounds pretty dry in here now, which is nice. And my waveforms have improved since treating the room. They're very consistent now with a lot fewer transients that must have been bouncing around and doing some weird warbly stuff. Also, I'm mainly just recording my voice almost entirely. Now, my voice, I can tell you how it naturally sounds because the microphones might sound a little bit different, but I do have a rather low voice and it can be boomy at times. And so I generally don't look for a microphone that tries to boost the low end because it doesn't do me any favors. With certain voices, you might want that because it'll make it feel warmer. For me, often, I almost need a nice the mid-range needs to be nice for a microphone for me because otherwise it can sound a little muddy and nasally on me. And then the high ends are, I guess they depend. Some of these mics I find a little bit too much on the high end, but the Oktava, I think, is a nice balance because I like what it's doing in the mids. It does tend to be a little bit friendly towards the bass, but I don't mind it at all, unlike some of the other mics. So I think that's pretty much it for this microphone. This is going to be a very high-level video. We're not going to go too deep into any of these microphones just because it would take forever. And again, I'll leave that to Curtis Judd. Go watch his video if you haven't. It's excellent. I'll put a link to it in the description. He covers a lot of other categories of mics as well. But yeah, I think this is probably my favorite one of the microphones that I've tested over the last few months. But now I will switch it out to another microphone and we can listen to that one and talk about its pros and cons. Before we switch though, I'll just read you a quick sentence so that we can have something to compare at the end and sort of a quick fire comparison, because I know that it can be tough to hear the different microphones from the beginning and the end. So rather than jumping around through timestamps, at the end of this video, I'll just give you all the mics compared with the same sentence. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable wired in accordance with the current EU or international safety standard. Okay, so now you're listening to the Rode NT5. Now I picked up this mic originally because I thought it would be a better solution than the Samson C02, which I have here, which I've been using for a long time in my videos, but they have quite a bit of self-noise, and so I was basically hoping to try to spend a little bit more money and get a noiseless Samson C02. And while the Rode NT5 can be quite good for certain types of recordings, it wasn't quite that, a noiseless Samson C02. Both of these mics are listed as a cardioid pickup pattern, although there are some discrepancies with the Samson C02. Let me show you something on one of these microphones. So if you go on their website, it says that it's a cardioid pattern. But if you look on the mic itself, you can see right here that the symbol is not a cardioid. This is either sort of like a hyper or a super cardioid pattern. And if you actually look at the pattern that they provide in their datasheet, it takes on a bit more of a directional profile than what you would see on the Rode. And so what I found when using these two is that while the Rode was generally a lot better for noise, like a lot better self-noise performance than the Samson, it was picking up more of the room and I was getting a bit more of that sort of reverberance and echo. And I also found that there was areas where it was a bit more boomy. Remember I said I wanted that clear kind of mid-end? I found that the Rode had a bit more bass, but then also I found the highs went kind of way up to the point that they were getting kind of sharp and brittle sounding. And you'll probably be able to hear this maybe now, and if not, at the comparison at the end. But it was borderline harsh on my voice, which surprised me. When I had to choose between it and the Samson, I was choosing it because I did find the noise on the Samson to be a bit bothersome. I usually was using noise reduction. But by the time I took the noise reduction off, because it was so aggressive, you could hear that sort of ramp up and ramp out with the release of the noise reduction, which I didn't really like. Kind of those moments before talking, how you can hear the noise reduction come in and out of play. And so with the Rode, I didn't have that. And so I ended up using it even though I did find it a little bit brittle and a little bit too boomy. But that's why I kept looking for another mic. So I think that's probably enough for the Rode NT5. This one costs $219 US. It's probably a little bit cheaper than the Oktava once you factor in the fees of getting it to you, but similarly priced. And for those two, I definitely prefer the Oktava. Okay, so now you're listening to the Samson C02, which I'm assuming that right away you're going to hear that the noise floor is probably a bit higher. And before I forget, for the Rode NT5, what you get for your $220 US is it comes in this leather case, and inside you get the microphone holder as well as a little foam windscreen. The Samson C02, which I think you can only get in this matched pair, is just over $100, like $115 for both mics. So this is definitely the cheapest possible mic you can get, and it sounds pretty darn good for the money. There's just two things that I don't like about it. The first one is, like I said, the self-noise is quite a bit higher, and it's at a frequency that I find it mixes in. It's not like it's really, really low and you can just sort of get rid of it. It mixes in and it does affect your audio when you remove the noise. Secondly, you might have noticed right away, especially in comparison to the Rode, is that this one tends to focus more on the medium to high end and doesn't have as much of that low end, which I liked when my room was less treated because it was kind of ignoring some of that boom that comes from my voice, that comes from, just these low waves bouncing around. So it was better for that. And I did find that when you're in kind of a sloppy environment, that sometimes the Samson's actually a really good bet for under $500 because a little bit of noise reduction, it's already removing some of the stuff you don't like, and a little bit of noise reduction goes a long way if you're okay with that attack and release of the noise reduction thing. Also, talking about that pickup pattern, I did find that it was more targeted when I switched from the Samson to the Rode. I was like, I'm hearing a lot more of the room. You might notice, it might be hard now that the room's treated, but you might notice that the Samson isn't picking up as much of the room. So regardless of the fact that they say it's a cardioid, it's definitely more targeted. Closer, I found, to the Oktava's hypercardioid capsule is similar to what I was getting here. Okay, now we're on to the Deity S-Mic 2S, which is a short, very short shotgun microphone. And I was testing this one out to see if it would help. Generally, mics like this aren't what you would go for indoor because, you focus in on weird phase issues and you get that garbling stuff, potentially, and they're better for outdoor. And that is true for this microphone. I did like it better outdoor than indoor. But I thought it was worth a try to see if maybe that would solve some of the problems that I was having a few months ago when it first came out. And I ended up not using it for a couple reasons. First of all, I find that Deity mics, and I think that's pretty consistent throughout the ones that we're going to show as far as the shotgun ones, tend to hone in a little bit on that lower frequency that I was talking about. And for me, I find that they make my voice a little bit too bottom heavy and a little bit too boomy. So if you potentially have a boomy voice like me, this might not be a great mic for you. But if you don't, then as Curtis Judd pointed out, it's a pretty great little option for somebody who might need to only buy one mic and use it for both indoor and outdoor. This is a pretty good versatile choice. And I do like a lot of things about the microphone: the value, the build, the accessories. You get, this is the case that you get this nice little Pelican case, you get the holder, you get a nice little windscreen with it. And the total price for this kit is $319 US on B&H right now. So I think it's a really great little value. Okay, so now we're listening to the Deity VideoMic D3 Pro. And I have the gain knob set to about 5.5, 6 to get similar levels on the Zoom F6. So there's the answer to what I was talking about. You can go all the way up to 10 on this one, but about 5.5, 6 would be similar to the other mics that we've looked at. Now I wanted to show you this thing that I have dangling here. I don't want to touch it in case it picks up noise, but the Deity VideoMic D3 Pro location kit, which we'll also talk about, and I think you can buy this thing separately, but they have this 3.5mm XLR adapter, and apparently it gives you a balanced signal if you run it to an XLR cable. So basically what I'm doing now, I should have a balanced out. Now with this thing, I'm able to use the same XLR cable and plug it into the Zoom F6, but we can also use this on other microphones, which I'm going to use when I use the Rode. I just don't think that we're going to get a balanced output out of the Rode because I believe the microphone has to support that as well. Now speaking of the different kits, there are a couple options, like I said. So this is your basic kit, would be this one. You would get the cord that I'm using up there now, the coiled cable, as well as a shock mount, the windscreen, and a charging cable for USB. And this is the D3 Pro kit. Now there's also a location kit, which comes with that XLR adapter. This is the little clip that comes on it, but I take it off because I find it more convenient. And then you get pistol grip shock mount that you can use, attach it to a boom pole, and it's got a smart cabling option because you can run the cables through here and then through here, and that little XLR adapter goes in here, and it's pretty good. I'm really happy with the location kit. Now there are a couple things that I didn't love about the D3 Pro, which I'll talk about, especially in comparison to the Rode VideoMic NTG, but the main thing for me again is that it's got the same sort of bassy problem as the S-Mic 2S has for me on my voice. I don't think it's quite as pronounced as it is on the S-Mic 2S, but it's still there. Now, as far as the technical features of it, of things that I liked and didn't like, I like a lot of things. I like how it charges over USB-C. I like the output port. I like that it has the auto on-off feature. It's got a 75 Hertz and 150 Hertz high-pass filter, and I love the stepless gain knob. And Deity's definitely the ones that sort of pioneered this design with the stepless gain knob and all these features, and I think they did a really, really great job with it. And this was the mic that I was recommending for sort of best on-camera shotgun mic, despite the fact that I didn't love it on my voice indoors, because it's probably not your best indoor mic. Works well for some people, but outdoors I thought it sounded great, and that's really where this microphone shines. This Pro kit is $199, and if you get the location kit combo with all these things, it's $288, but that price can vary a little bit depending on where you get it. Okay, so now you're listening to the Rode VideoMic NTG, and I have the gain knob set to between 6 and 7, so a little bit louder than on the Deity VideoMic D3 Pro, but the Rode gain knob goes all the way up to 15. Now I don't think the curve of the knobs are exactly the same on the Deity and the Rode, but I do think that you still get a little bit more gain out of the Rode's knob on max versus the Deity's. Now there are a few more features on the Rode mic that I like, and like I said, some improvements over the Deity. In terms of the overall kit, this is basically what you get, this and a cable. I'm using the cable right now. But the Deity comes with a case, the Rode does not. They both come with a very similar shock mount. The Rode's shock mount has a little cable manager on it, which is nice and does a good job. They both have the foam windscreen, and then they both have very similar features on their build. That's a funny sound. So first off, the big one for me was that output that I was talking about. So they both have that smart output that's capable of on and off, but the Rode implementation is a little bit better. First of all, the Rode allows you to turn the mic on and off, and it's engaged, where the Deity, you can only really turn it into standby, and then it has to detect power from the source in order for it to work. This causes problems with certain devices, like if you plug it into, I believe, the Blackmagic camera or like an Atomos recorder. If they don't give that 3-volt signal or whatever it is, I don't know why I'm pointing up, the Deity will never engage, it won't turn on, and so you have a problem. Where this one, because you can turn it on manually by holding the button, it does work with the Atomos recorder. So that right there, which might not be important for a lot of people, but for me that makes this mic a lot more useful, than the Deity because it integrates better with my hardware. And it also allows me to use it with some, again, dumber devices that don't send the correct signal to the Deity. I don't know why I keep pointing out, that's the Rode mic. I have 2 of these and I have 2 of the Deity. The Deity's over there. It's more compatible for me, and I mean, that makes your money go farther, right? Second of all, it does have a USB option where you can use it as a USB mic, which is great if you want a flexible mic that you can also use for streaming or something and then be able to monitor, because when you use the USB port, you can then plug your headphones into the regular output jack, and now you can monitor your headphones, and then the gain knob works as a volume control for your headphones. So it's pretty cool. So if that's something you want to do, then you're going to get, again, more value for your money by, using this microphone because it has multiple purposes. Now, when it comes to actually controlling it, the one thing that I've noticed is that the on-off seems a bit more advanced. These are small things probably for the average, person using it as like an on-camera shotgun mic. But as soon as I plugged in, so in this case, I didn't have to turn the mic on. I said that I could turn it on, but I didn't have to. As soon as I connected it to the Deity location XLR cable thing, and because it was connected to the Zoom F6, it just immediately turned on. And if I disconnect it, within 3 or 4 seconds, it turns off. Where the Deity, like I said, you have to turn it on into standby mode and then provide power to it. So that means for me, the Rode mic is better if you were to forget something. It sort of is a bit more stupid proof because it'll just turn on and work, where the Deity, you have to remember about the standby mode thing. It has the same 75 and 150 hertz high pass filter that stop pointing up, Gerald, that the Deity has. But it also has a high frequency boost, which is good if you're going to put wind protection on, because you can cut through it a little bit and still get some of the high frequency back. And it has the minus 20 dB pad and the safety channel that it had on, I think, the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus. So the minus 20 dB pad just lowers the whole input by 20 dB in case you're recording something really hot. And then the safety channel separates the left and right at 2 different volumes, so one is recorded significantly lower than the other one. So if you clip your one channel, you can recover it with the other channel. These are great features to have. And then it also has a clip warning beside it, which I like as well. They basically took Deity's design and then added their VideoMic Pro Plus features and then some extra stuff to make it basically the ultimate single microphone. But my question for you is that okay? Is it okay to take a design like the Deity, pretty much note for note, and then just add a couple of your own twists on it? Or do you need to completely redo it for you to think that that's ethical development? I'm not sure exactly how I feel. Maybe just because I like Deity a lot and I don't want to see somebody kind of get knocked off. But to me, this is a great mic. This is the best mic, I would say, the best on-camera shotgun mic that you can get right now. But it only exists because of stuff the Deity's done. I don't know. No real strong opinion here. I guess I just wanted to have the conversation. So let me know in the comments what you think about that whole the ethics of iteration after a previous device so closely resembling the one that you're making now. Now, as far as pricing, like I said, you get basically just these things. This is the Deity cable, but pretend that's the Rode cable. And it costs $249, so it costs more than the Deity, but you're getting a few more features than the Deity. So I think both microphones are fairly priced for what they are. And I'll just read that sound sample now. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with a resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. The microphone must be plugged into a source capable of providing 48-volt phantom power from a balanced input with resistance of not less than 1 kilo ohm via 3-pin to 3-pin XLR cable. Pretty good. And use this. Stop it. Now my stomach's making noise too. What is that? Get off me. What is this? By making an essential slightly up. Did I spit all over my case? This has been a sloppy video. A pretty darn good value microphone. But But that's going to be it for me. I hope you found this video helpful, or at least entertaining, and if you did, make sure you leave it the old thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. But if you did not find this video helpful or entertaining, well then maybe this will change your mind. Alright, I'm done.